welcome to A10 again, Heeg and Kogan, and now we are talking about the war is over. So now that the war is over, what do we need to do?
Well, wars don't officially end until treaties are signed.
Exactly.
So we now need to negotiate. I love the word negotiate in this context, because usually when you have a victor and a defeated, it's all right, here's what I want from you.
Right.
Okay, well, we really don't want to give, all right, and there's kind of some back and forth. There's no back and forth here.
No.
It's kind of
usually
like,
you have all participants at
Yeah.
the table, where this table, there were some people missing.
yeah,
So, I mean, I don't know about you, but I also sometimes think of this as like a middle school fight as well. You know,
I can see that.
I can recall the one or two occasions when I was in a fight. You know, now all of a sudden the fight's over. You're in the principal's office, and now there's a couple of things that they want to know. They want to know who started it, because they usually get the more severe punishment. Something that we can bring into this. You know, how did it start? And then, of course, there's the moving forward. How are we going to prevent another fight?
Mm-hmm.
So those are certain things. If you think of a war and a middle school fight, they kind of. I think there's a really good comparison
Yeah.
here. But before the war even ends, when the United States gets involved in the war, Wilson wanted the United States to maintain a separate army. And part of that is because he wanted to also be a major participant in organizing the peace. So in his 14 points, there's 14 of them. We're only going to look at a couple.
Yeah, the major ones, you know, and
The major ones, yeah.
they're just, when you actually read them, it's like talking about border disputes between countries. These are really just the four major points of the 14. The first one here, huge. No more secret alliances. Because if you go back to how this whole thing started in the first place, nobody knew who your friends were.
friends were, exactly.
You know, if I know I'm going to pick a fight with this country, but 5 other countries have their back, that might sway my my decision making. But because no one knew, it was like the Archduke gets assassinated, boom, 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 that whole system of alliances sets forth. And then we still have this today.
Yeah.
Like, United States, our allies, NATO, it's known as, you know, it's declared. We have 200, I forget how many nations are a part of NATO now, 110 nations that are our allies, and everyone knows that.
Now, even when it comes to the whole secret agreements, hopefully the political cartoon that is coming up is the whole, you had the German whispering to the Mexican in the political cartoon. That was definitely clearly, you know, a secret.
Yeah.
Again, we're looking how this fight starts. So now we're looking at how we're going to prevent it, and the secret agreements is one of them. You know, the freedom of the seas. Hopefully at this point, you know, you're thinking, all right, the freedom of the sea, the ability to trade with whoever, whenever, and that unrestricted submarine warfare that Germany was kind of launching on a lot of countries when it came to the Atlantic, that's going to tie into this.
This is big for Wilson.
Really,
You know, because go back to his foreign policy of moral diplomacy. You know, Wilson was really, really big in keeping the world safe for democracy.
Yeah.
You know, let countries decide what they're going to be, how their country's going to be run, and let democracy, let the people choose self-determination, their own form of government, their own territorial demands. Like Poland comes out of World War I. There was no nation of Poland before.
Right.
Let this ethnicity, the Poles, part of Russia at the time, have their own country, and we're going to see several other countries pop up.
So then the one big thing that Wilson wants, you know, now if you think of your whole middle school fight, you know, now I'm in a fight, I lose, right? So a couple of things have been decided. The principal or assistant principal is going to want to know, you know, who was involved, how did it start, and, you know, how did it start? And of course, you want to make sure that this is kind of they're also trying to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So now there's another organization within the school. I like to think of them as a peacekeeping organization that I can go to if I was going to get into a potential fight with somebody else. The guidance office. You know, when you look at it, all right, if I'm going to potentially get into a fight with somebody else again, we can go to guidance and kind of work out our issues. Now, again, when it comes to maintaining peace is something that's very, very difficult. You know, does it always work? No, but you have to have a system in place. So the guidance office of the world that I'm going to use here is the League of Nations.
And Wilson's really forward-thinking this.
Very.
You know, hey, let's have an international cooperation organization where we can bring disputes to and settle our differences peacefully. And it's really the seeds, if you would, of the United
United
Nations.
Nations,
It's
yeah.
the seeds of our modern day United Nations. Because unfortunately for Wilson, as we're going to see, the United States kind of doesn't join the league.
Right, we don't join the league, so even though it says that down here, we can address this in political cartoons that we have separately. But, you know, and again, when you're looking at Wilson and you're talking about, you know, the olive branch, the dove here for peace, this is his goal, is that he wants peace. His goal, of course.
We'll go back to that for a second.
Yeah,
I
sure.
love this because what's going to happen to the branch in this dove's mouth?
He's not going to be able to take it.
He's not going to be able to hold it.
Exactly, right.
That this lofty expectation, this lofty goal that Wilson has of the League of Nations. It's a great idea. The world just wasn't ready for it at the time.
I didn't even think of that
Yeah.
at the point. This
That-
branch is too big for that.
It's too big. It's too big. The peace branch is too big for the dove, and it won't work. And it's unfortunate because had the League of Nations worked, we wouldn't have World War II.
Quite possibly, and that's exactly what this cartoon is saying right here. You know, when you look here, you know, you're talking about building bridges to, I don't know, reach out to other people, whatever the case may be. You know, again, this was the United States idea, and the major thing missing from this bridge, the keystone, is the United States.
And if you know anything about engineering, in an archway,
Yes.
the keystone is the most important stone in the entire bridge. It holds all the weight of the arch. Goes back to like the Roman Empire.
So when we look there, that League of Nations again, you know, we, and by we, I mean Wilson, we're gonna come up with it, we're not gonna join it. So as we're moving forward towards ending this war, you know, there has to be an agreement to stop fighting. Wilson's gonna set two conditions for this, right? Germany must accept his plan for peace, and then the German emperor must give up power. Now again, these are Wilson's goals. You know, he has to have other people to kind of buy into this. And when it comes to that, not everybody's necessarily going to buy into it, because when we're looking at where World War I was fought, this was fought over in Europe. So the French, in terms of how Germany is going to be treated after the war, their vision and how they want that to take place are going to be different from ours, because they had a front row seat to it. When does this end? The 11th day, the 11th month, at the 11th hour in 1918.
The official ending of the fighting.
Yep.
Now, originally known as Armistice Day.
Yep.
For a long time. 11/11, November 11th, is now known as Veterans
Day, yep.
The day that we honor all of our nation's veterans, Mr. Heeg, you know, for serving us.